Today I'm in downtown Tacoma at 7th and Fawcett Avenue to take a tour of the Tacoma Telephone Pioneer Museum. This is a really fascinating museum that is free and run by volunteers who used to work in this building at the time when phone operators helped people answer questions and place long-distance phone calls. They are all very nice people who love to share their knowledge, and it's very interesting to see how things worked in the days before computers took over. I think you'll agree that coming here was a good call. Now, let some of the volunteers, who were, as I mentioned, former workers here, explain how some of this fascinating old equipment worked. This is Arthur, who is 90 years old and worked for the phone company in Tacoma for 40 years, and he's full of knowledge.
Days, way back, 1884, Tacoma got telephone.
You were 21, weren't you, Art?
Yeah, I was 21 then. 1884, and it probably was something that looked like this. And to make a call, you had to pick this up and ring, and you're ringing the operator.
What did she hear?
Okay, well, here's the operator board, right? This would be probably in a house or somewhere. And when you rang that, this was called the drop board. This, say you're 94, this would drop down and flop up and down as you're ringing.
Oh.
So she sitting here, she knows she has a call on 94. She'd take her back cord up, find 94, plug in, and with her headset, and this looking like this sweet young lady could talk to you. Then and she probably knew you by name.
That's your picture.
Yeah, she probably knew you by name.
Oh.
How are the kids? What's Frank doing, and so forth. And you wanted to talk to the service station or the mechanic. She'd say she knew that was 106. She'd plug in there, and then with her key, headset and cords, could ring the garage, and then you were connected together through here.
Yeah, because you
So
didn't
the
have
two
a
people
dial.
connected here,
Yeah.
along with you.
And she, if she's not busy, she's probably listening to you to see what you're talking about
She
and what
knew
you're.
everything about
Yeah,
everyone.
and she could handle as many calls as she had pairs of cords. We're missing some here, so, and she would, if somebody else made a call, this would flop, and she'd go up and answer them with another pair of cords. She could plug in, and then she could put their call through too. So she could handle as
Because
many.
these are the same.
Yeah, they have to
okay.
be paired up. So, and when you're done, you'd ring off again. This would flop up and down again, and she'd pull down 94, and that call was over then.
So did she time the call?
If it was long distance,
Oh,
she probably, now this would have been local, but she
yeah.
probably had, say, a trunk down here to Seattle. So if you wanted to call Seattle, she would have answered you on 94 and then plugged in, say, to the Seattle trunks there. Ring that operator, and that operator would do the same thing to
In
put
Seattle.
in Seattle to put your
or
call
so
there.
whatever city you would call the operator of that city.
Yeah, and if it was going back farther east, Seattle probably had to put it on to, say, I don't know, Chicago, and Chicago on to New York, or however the network
Wow.
was laid out.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, everybody got to hear everybody, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you're a gossiper, that's a great job to have.
Yeah.
I just love all you telephone.
On the next street that way, at 11th Street, the brick building there, was where the Tacoma operators were. They came to this building in 1933.
Isn't that something?
And
In 1891, a gentleman named Almond Stroger designed a system so you could make your own calls. He was a undertaker, and that gives a whole new meaning to my phone's dead, right? But used to be when someone would die, their relatives would call the operator would connect Mr. Stroger. All of a sudden, he didn't get as many calls. He found that they'd hired a new operator, and her husband was also an undertaker. So he said, I've got to design some system that people can call me direct, which is pretty amazing for someone with educated for undertaker, but he designed what's called step by step. And the way it would work is first, back, well, most of the time they didn't have cable, but cable or just wires coming in would go to the protector frame on the other side. Then they'd be connected to these blocks so that somebody on the frame could connect the dial tone to a telephone number to a cable pair so you could use it. And this was what Step by Step did. Pretty amazing, actually. And if you pick up that phone there at the end,
I hear a dial
if
tone.
you dial 247, it's fun because we get kids in here, they don't know how to dial. Is this the party to whom I'm speaking?
No, I'm the
Okay.
party to you. Yeah, it comes
Smart
up.
man, you didn't want to talk to me. Same as early ones didn't have dial.
Oh, that's crazy. A picture phone from the 1962 World's Fair. That's the one that was in Seattle, right?
Yeah.
This is our youngest guy. He just
Space
turned
Needle.
79.
That's crazy. This is one of the switchboards that was actually in this building on the 4th floor. And Carol here, who now volunteers at this museum, was one of the switchboard operators in the
And one thing that Art
1960s.
wasn't
Here
doing
she's
up
giving
there,
a
but one thing that
demonstration
we
on
were
how it
trained
works.
to do is take the cords down like this and don't pull them on like that, because that ruined them, and then they had to replace them, so we couldn't do it. When I started in 1962, we used these to take track of calls, to mark down the calls. And when I would put it into the calculograph, the first time would give me simply the clock, the second time would put in the hands to say actually how much time elapsed. So
Yeah.
when calls came in, 3 minutes was a big deal back then. So I would
It
come
was.
in, had a headset just like this,
See you next week, Art.
Oh, okay,
and
have fun.
this is called a calculograph. It's the really old one. This is the one that came later, which was really better, I think, because it was start and stop. That one, sometimes it would be, it's too many things and you're taking down, you're challenging, and so I would pretend, okay, I'm pretending. I wouldn't pretend then. So I would be like this with a cord in my hand, pencil in my other hand, and watch for lights. So you come in as a light. I couldn't tell what number you were calling from, but I could tell where you were in the community here. So, and
The
the first,
prefix, yeah.
yeah, the first year I was here, they had to dial us. 1962 and 63, they had to call us even to call anywhere. They couldn't dial long distance for one, Bremerton, Olympia, that kind of thing. So to come in here as a light, and I would answer, operator. Yes, sir. Even my watch isn't working today. Yes, sir. It's 10 o'clock. Oh, you're welcome. Remember being the time operator?
Yeah, we're supposed to say something like it's approximately, but we'd get Gig Harbor and Purdy. They wanted to know what time it was first thing in the morning
Yep.
when they were, because you couldn't call time like
No.
you could
They
later.
finally got a number where people could call it, but when we first started, everybody, I don't know why, but they called us to find out what time it was. Yeah. Or another one was this one right here. Operator. Ma'am? Ma'am, fire or police? Fire. Thank you. So I would connect up here to fire. I'd close my key. I would put a cord clip on it so I knew
Yeah,
what
that would
was.
tell us what's a local call if they were clipped together.
Yeah, and there was no such thing as 911. We were 911.
Do you know when 911 came about?
70s, in the
I
late
think
70s.
1968 in the United States.
But
I'm
not
not
here.
sure about Tacoma.
No. Interesting. I just thought it'd been around since, I don't know when, but a long time.
No, well, before you.
Yeah.
Before you were thought of, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
We'd have to Google
So-
it.
I'm actually going to do that.
Yes.
So now I know if I pick up anything that's in red, that means that I'm going to have to deal with coins.
Oh.
So there's one right there. Operator? Yes, sir. Seattle? And the number in Seattle? I would write down the number in Seattle. Thank you, sir. And I would go over here. So that's 45 cents for the first 3 minutes. All right, go ahead and get your, yes. Thank you, I'll be right back. Okay, now, if he puts a quarter in, the operator heard thunk. If he puts a dime in, we heard ding ding. If he puts a nickel in, we heard ding. So, I'll go back here.
So you had to write it down and keep track.
What if they put a penny in to be funny?
Yeah, and it wouldn't register.
Oh,
So, oh, here we go. Ding. No, first one is thunk. Remember what the thunk was? That was the first one. I didn't say there'd be a test, did I? Normally I do that. That means a quarter. So the first one, if it's a thunk, that was 25. So I write 25 with a pencil on a piece of paper. And then ding, ding.
Must be a dime, huh?
Very good. I write down 10. Ding,
Nickel.
ding.
Not a nickel?
Not a nickel. So there's my 45 cents. So then I would go up here. Now, earlier today, somebody came by and said, you know what? The lights aren't working today. You're going to have to tip test. So tip test meant going up here, and if I touched the edge and it went, that meant someone was on it.
I thought that was something police did when you were drinking.
Tip over.
Yeah.
Be sure we give you a broshure and a card before you leave.
Sure,
Yeah.
thank you.
So anyway, so I would come up here and I would go like this, and it went, then somebody was on it. So, because there were no lights, so I had to do, oh, there's one right there. So then I would go ahead and call the number. All right, and then I would close my key. The light would come on. When the light went off, whoa, I knew I had to put my ticket in here. Come on, come on. And I would put it, normally I would put it like this, but because it's not connected, it drops to the floor. But I put it like right, and then I'm on to another call. There's a light right there, operator, and I just keep going. Or everybody had to work holidays. The first time I was 18 years old and I get this call, operator, I forgot to take my turkey out and it's still frozen. What do I do?
What?
I don't know. I'm 18 years old. I've never cooked a turkey before. Supervisor, and the supervisor, the chairs were like this and they sat behind us. Remember that? They sat behind us and would help us or say, get those lights, get those lights. Either way, they were there to help us. So I told her my story about the turkey. I don't remember what happened or if she got it cooked or what happened, but I wasn't the person that could tell her how to
So
do
people
that.
could just call you guys for information, huh?
Yeah, what's the name of the gas station up there on 6th and Division? Yeah, luckily everybody was local so we could tell them.
You guys were the Google before Google.
Yes, yeah, we did all
That's
that.
good.
There
term.
was a place you answered, and it was operators from another city if they were having trouble getting a customer through. And I remember when she said, we're trying to call I don't remember the prefix then, but like 847 Puyallup. And I said, oh, that's Puyallup, ma'am. She said, say that again.
Yes, people still have a hard time with that word, Puyallup. Yeah, I know. We had to know everything, and we did. We got 6 weeks of training before we could even talk to a customer, and you could only say certain things. And so if they're going, hey, Debbie, is that you? Because I had it. Carol, is that you? One time with a supervisor plugged in, and it's like, no. And supervisor saying, you're not supposed to tell people where you work. Oh, all right.
And
Anyway.
if you were on your break and then you came back and you relieved somebody and they're going on their break, you put it in there and listened to what she was doing for a minute so you could take over. And
Yeah, and you're talking about the operators. We had operator numbers. So my relatives back in Montana, if I wanted to call them, I couldn't dial them directly. They had a situation like Art was showing you that board, the crank phone. Bob was showing you that. So no dial on their phone. They would call the operator. They would say to the operator, hey, we're going over to the Nelsons tonight. If anybody calls, put them through over there. Okay. So here comes the person here saying, yes, I want to place a long distance call to Livingston, Montana, and to the Bowles family. All right. Well, this operator couldn't do it. This operator had to call that other operator whose cord board was probably in the closet or in a back bedroom. That's just where they were. They were in people's homes. So the call would get back there, and of course then there's me saying, yes, I have a long distance call for the Nelsons. Oh yeah, the Bowles. The Bowles went over to the Nelsons tonight. I'll ring over there. So that operator back there, she knew everything. She knew what everybody was doing. And you wanted her to know because that's the only way you were going to get calls if you weren't home. So they had their own answering service.
That's the age before answering machines, huh?
Yep. Yep, certainly was. Oh, here. Sir, your 3 minutes are up. Did you wish to continue? Oh. All right, 1 moment. Sir, 15 cents for the additional. All right. Ding, ding.
That was 2 nickels. No, 2 dimes. 2 quarters. All right, I knew how good.
1 dime. You were doing, what is your name?
Greg.
Greg, you were doing so well. So I'm going to write down 10 cents because that's a ding ding. And then ding, That was 5. Okay, go ahead, sir. And I might put a cord clip around that too to remind me. That's a payphone. Gotta remember to go back. Fill up the entire board, then I could just stop for a minute. Yeah, see, you remember it now. But do you have any questions about being an operator, or do you remember what you were talking about earlier is this?
Yes.
Those are the marked cents tickets.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to fill them in with a very dark mark,
Like the mark cent.
Lead.
yeah, we say marked cents, but what's the
Lead pencil.
lead pencil? Yeah. Fill in the bubbles
You
rather
bubble
than,
in the number.
yeah, rather than write it down.
All without computers, but it worked wonderful.
Yeah, pencils and paper. Yep.
So,
Well, any
yeah.
questions that you have about?
So this board comes from the 4th floor in this building. It was in service from 1943 to 1973. 1933 to 1973.
That's when this building was became active. It was dedicated in 1931, and then they started putting the equipment and the operators and switchboards and everything. We had hundreds of people in the building when it was fully active, all floors in the basement.
Hello, sir. Yes, your time. All right, you're done. All right. Thank you, sir. Goodbye. Timed it off. Take down my cord. Now, the one thing I need to do is collect the money so it isn't left. So, have you ever gone by a phone booth when they were out there and reached it?
This is the first
Very
computerized one, switchboard here.
Yep. Right there. Yeah,
Okay?
I'm done.
Their main purpose was to observe the operators to make sure they were saying, yes, sir, no, ma'am, may I help you, please? Doing all the right things to make the public happy. And the girls knew it, but they didn't know when. And they could tell with their dials and their keys which operator it was. And if she said, no, hang up, you dumb drunk, or something like that, then she would be reprimanded or more training because she didn't say the nice things. And it was very secretive. They didn't want the public to know they were being monitored, even though it was for service and to help improve the phone. They didn't want the public to know that.
Well, that makes sense, really.
And once a year, we were covered with Company Instruction 44, secrecy of communication, and told what we could and couldn't do, and then we had to sign papers that we had been covered on that secrecy. Because, in fact, they told the girls, don't talk about, if you go ride the bus home, don't talk about what went on at work, because that person might be sitting next to you and you say you monitored their call and this went on it. And so it was important then.
Oh, wow.
So, but it had sometimes it picked up trouble too, so it was good for maintenance.
Oh, man.
This room has got a lot of different telephones from different eras, as far back as the 1800s, crank phones, and all the way up to the cellular phone era.
They're gonna put air conditioning in the ceiling above it. Everything was black, the model. And well, actually, this is the phone that replaced the crank on the wall over there. This phone here, and here you flash the switch hook to get the operator. Instead of ringing, you flash the switch hook, and that signals the operator. Mine got mildew in the dial, but it still works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You built it with Western Electric, I guess.
Yes, yeah, Western Electric was the manufacturer and the installer of the central office equipment. And Bell Labs was our support group. So we had very high technical people to support the phone system.
Yeah, when I was young, I was extremely telephone.
Okay with that?
I'll leave this out. In case somebody wants to set in it again.
Is it okay if I walk this way for a second?
Oh, sure.
I'm just going to show these.
Yeah, I think we can almost go all the way around.
I forgot to
These
look
are all,
at
so it's a
me, forget.
1908, you can see here. This one's, 1894. That's incredible.
Beautiful
I'm
old
glad
phone.
this is here. This is so
Yeah.
nice. I'm glad that you're willing to do this, you know.
Some of
I've
the
been doing it since I
earlier cell phones here.
1990, I think.
Been here?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they started a little bit before that.
For heaven's
And
sake.
I retired in 1990, and
And behind here, they're putting in air conditioning in this right now. I don't know why it wasn't done a long time ago, but that's what they're doing. And so right now, this wall of phones is covered, but it will be back open again soon. These are a bunch of different tools that were used to fix phone
Nobody
lines.
told us.
Here are old soldering irons,
That was bad
and here's a
for you.
pot and a ladle for melting lead in.
Yeah, lead poisoning.
And here they even have
The
some
American
telegraph
Morse
machines.
Was the telegraph. And we have a, let's see, which one is it, I think. Well, it isn't that one. Or that one. Well, never mind that. Okay. And I can't get, oh, there we got the record button stuck down. There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
That's
Is it much different than Morse?
yes, it's different. It's clicks. You read the clicks.
S is still dot, dot, dot.
Yeah,
Sounds like somebody's shooting in a movie.
here's the international Morse. This is what the military used, the international Morse.
Did you ever learn it?
Yes,
You did.
I was a radioman in the Naval Reserve for 11 and a half years.
Oh,
So,
for heaven's sakes.
so I had to learn.
Well, those are some pretty fascinating
That Morse
clicks.
sounds like a.
If you want to be
other
part
one
of a
sounds
really
like
cool click,
a
though,
movie shooting.
you're going to have to subscribe to my channel.
Oh, yes.
That's all
And
from the Tacoma Telephone Pioneer
old,
Museum.
Western
Until next time.
was always the train station that could do this.